a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for March 29th, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, we have February sales numbers from the NPD. E3's cancellation seems imminent, and a recent Sony exclusive gets new DLC. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Mike Minotti, everybody. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm back.
I'm
here to cause mayhem and mischief and all sorts of gooey trouble. I don't know why the trouble's gooey. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm in a gooey mood after that Zelda gameplay.
Yeah, I guess I had goo on the mind.
Slap goop on everything. I want goop everywhere. I was talking to chat and before the show started, and I realized I was muted. I mean, I knew I muted myself, and then I just forgot. So it's going to be one of those shows.
It's okay, because I was trying to sing the lyrics to I'm Blue Dubba D Dubba Die over you and kept forgetting them. So I avoided
we spared
a lot
you
of
your embarrassment. Absolutely.
I got them now if you want me to go.
Yeah, hit me with them. I need it.
So listen up. Here's a story about a guy who lives in a blue world, and all day and all night, and everything he sees is just blue, like him, inside and outside, blue himself with the blue little window and a blue Corvette, and everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around, because he ain't got nobody to listen.
Thank you for that, Mike.
I'm blue, dabu dee dabu die, dabu dee dabu die, dabu dee dabu die. Yeah, there you go.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. It's exactly what I needed and when I needed it. So, all right, now we can actually start this show. Honestly, Mike, how you doing? You joined us for your own talk over yesterday for the Zelda thing. Video was actually pretty funny. That was a good time. I like that. And then Turbo Sean, one of our mods, reacted to us reacting to the Zelda gameplay trailer. This is all on my YouTube channel, everybody. Not to like self-promote, but if you want to find it there. I want to encourage everybody to keep the train going.
I'm allowed to self-promote, so it's on our YouTube channel, even though it's called Jeff Grubb's Game Mess and has your face on it. But it's there. Yeah, we gotta keep the train going. Gotta have more people reacting to the reacting.
The blue song, that is the movie I'm probably thinking of is Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3, right?
I don't remember it being in any of the Iron Mans, but like I saw Iron Man 3 once.
I think they were trying to do the beginning scene that like set it up like here's when it's happening, and so we're gonna play a song that's very associated with a certain place and time. And I think they played that song.
Oh, was it like? Yeah, okay.
At that party.
I see that. Yeah. Well, there's like a new song now that's like that samples it, and it's like popular.
Oh.
And it's like some woman talking about she's like ready to party and have the best day of her life, and I'm like, this is good. I like this.
This is a good show. A couple of older fellas trying to remember movie scenes. People should tune into this.
That's what the kids like these days. By the way, apparently it is the first scene of Iron Man 3. Yeah. So there you go.
All right, there we go. Let's get into this mess, but before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with the February 2023 NPD report. Although I guess they're not called the NPD group anymore, huh? They changed their name. I missed this. They're called
they did?
Circana Group? I don't know.
What?
But still Matt Piscatella, so it's all the NPD to me. It was weird.
Right. I don't want to be that guy who's like, something changed their name and I don't like it. As somebody who grows up in Cleveland and has people who still call our baseball field to think it was called in the 90s, I find that somewhat obnoxious, but like, man, I don't know if I can get used to not having the NPD group.
I think I'll probably still call it the NPD report with scare quotes around it. So we can maintain some consistency, at least in this period of transition. We will at least continue that. All right, so basically he posted a bunch of stuff, Matt Piscatella, on Twitter, the full report, essentially. Video game sales were up 6%, basically from 4.3 million last year to 4.6 million this year in February. That is one of the bigger jumps, he said. Let's see. Consumer spending on video game content, hardware, and accessories totaled $4.6 billion, 6% higher when compared to a year ago. Video game hardware was up 68%, accessories were up 13%, and content was up 1%. All grew compared to February 2022. February 2023 marks the highest monthly year-on-year percentage growth for the US video game market since October 2021, when spending increased 13% compared to October 2020. Spending on video game content increased 1% in February when compared to a year ago to $3.9 billion. Growth in digital content across console and PC platforms, as well as non-mobile subscription spending, offset a decline in mobile. Hogwarts Legacy was the best-selling game on of both February 2023 as well as year to date. That's like a big one. So we're, February, sure, but it's like 2 months of Call of Duty sales already surpassed by Hogwarts Legacy. That's impressive for any game. I think Elden Ring I don't even remember if Elden Ring did that last year. So Hogwarts Legacy continues to sell real well. But there's more here in terms of like what is selling. Some more details about hardware. We'll get into that. Mike, the big takeaway I have for these numbers, though, is as someone who's tracked this for a long time, it feels like we are settling into the groove of this is just now the new normal. There's no longer the concerns about the industry losing a bunch of ground that it gained during the pandemic. It's like, no, that ground has been firmly gained now, and the people who bought consoles during that time are now just yet another gamer, and they're still buying games. Does that seem what it's like to you?
Yeah, and I think Matt Piscatella kind of said something similar himself. For a while, we had these giant gains because we were comparing pandemic years to pre-pandemic years.
Yes.
And then it was like things look bad because we're comparing this. I want to say post-pandemic. I know people are still living with it, but you know
Right.
what I mean.
In this transitional time.
Right, exactly. Things have stabilized in terms of consumer spending, and so it looked like, ooh, everything's down. And it was really just there wasn't this giant rush that there was when people were quarantining and stuff like that. So it's good, especially because there are some people, Jeff, who if they don't just see the line going up constantly, they're like, well, there's a problem here, even in a case where we all know why it wasn't just going to go up forever. So yeah, it's good to see that. It's good to just see some normal growth again.
Yeah, and it's not all just the same old games as always. The Hogwarts Legacy, yes, was the best-selling game of February 2023 and 2023 year to date. But let's see, the 7 of the top 20 best-selling games of February were new releases, with Wild Hearts at 8, Like a Dragon Ishin at number 9, and Octopath Traveler at number 10. Those games, you could feel like maybe they could be even higher if they were like even bigger hits. But for stuff like, I think, Wild Hearts and Like a Dragon Ishin, a port, upgraded port of an older game, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and even Octopath Traveler 2, it's hard to say. It feels like there's not as much sizzle as last time, but
Definitely.
it's a niche genre. It's on one platform. That might be good enough. I'm not sure.
Yep. That continues to be like a question about Square Enix and a lot of their games coming out and not seem to have the same sizzles you thought they would. But still, top 10 first month. Octopath Traveler 2 can't be probably not as expensive to make as Forspoken, for example. But
probably not.
Yes. Last of Us Part 1 rose 5 spots on the February chart, placing 6th after ranking 11th in January. The Last of Us Part 2 returned to the top 20 in February, finishing 18th overall, following a 41 placement in January. Clearly getting boosts from the show, right? People tuning into the show, and now they went out to buy the games, and that worked as advertised, right?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. There's just everyone was talking about Last of Us. It kind of became this it became part of the pop culture moment, part of the zeitgeist, if you will. And I scoffed at you before when I asked, like, why is this remake happening? It's so unnecessary. And you're like, well, they want to be ready for when that show comes out so people have something to buy. And I was like, that's the show's not like, all right, the show's gonna be a success, blah blah blah. The show was a big success. There were
massive.
a lot of people who wanted to play that game for either the first time or for the first time since they had a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 4 or what have you. So yeah, that strategy seems like it actually worked out.
Yeah, I think to put it into perspective, Last of Us, I think, ended its season with like a 9 million people watching, around there, maybe 8 million people watching. Could be more than that. But Succession, a show that I hear people talking about all the time, and another HBO Sunday night show, it like had its season debut was at like 2.9 million or something like that.
Right.
And that's a huge success for them. And Last of Us is like twice the size of that, if not more. So it's like, okay, Last of Us is massively popular, and the games are seeing the benefit of that. Video game hardware spending increased 68%. This is the big one. The reason the spending is up this year, when compared to February 2021, to $495 million. This is the highest video game hardware spend for a February month since the $534 million total reached in 2009. Growth in the PlayStation 5 hardware spending drove the February hardware market gains. PS5 was the best-selling hardware platform in units and dollars over both the February 2023 and 2023 year-to-date time periods. Year-to-date hardware spending is now 29% higher when compared to the same period in 2022, and that's just you can actually find these things, right? That's what's happening there.
I think it's that, Jeff. And I mean, I know it's kind of anecdotally on my half, but I've been hearing a lot of anecdotes. It seems like a lot of people made the jump because of Hogwarts Legacy. That
I mean,
the number one selling game for the month, like you said already, best selling game year to date. I think that actually did push a lot of consoles, and seemingly PlayStation 5s in particular.
yes, it seems to really. I mean, they've had that co-marketing deal. It seems to have paid off. Year-to-date hardware spending is now 29% higher when compared to the same period in 2022. If I already said that, sorry. But that's yeah, good sign. Good sign for hardware. Good sign for people like being like, oh, okay, now that they're available, we are going to jump out there and get them. And there's games giving us a reason to do that. Accessory spending grew 13% in February when compared to a year ago to 212 million. Growth in virtual reality headsets sales offset a drop in gamepad spending. So I think we can assume that was PSVR 2, right? Because that came out in February.
That sounds right. Right?
Yeah.
It came out at some point, and no matter if it's like meeting expectations or not, I mean, it sold something, and that's just all going to the accessories category.
Yeah,
It almost feels like hardware to me. Accessories, I guess.
So we had those 7 new games in the top 20, in addition to Wild Hearts, Hogwarts Legacy, Wild Hearts, Like a Dragon Ishin, Octopath Traveler 2. There was also Kirby's Return to Dreamland at number 15, Company of Heroes 3 at 16, and Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line at number 20. So yeah, getting a lot of games like sprinkled all throughout, and then the rest of the list is a lot of familiar stuff. Although Sonic Frontiers still hitting at number 17. So Sonic continuing to have legs. I'm sorry.
When did Kirby's Return to Dreamland come out? Because I guess it's Nintendo. It's not digital.
February. So it says new here, so it must be February at some point.
Not February. Maybe like when. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
That seems a little low for first party.
Yeah, I mean it's physical only.
Remaster, yeah, Wii game. It's physical only. There's all these caveats, but still.
You're right. It is pretty low. There's been a lot of Kirby, and maybe the Kirby audience is feeling satisfied, and so they didn't.
Maybe everyone like me is not in love with King Dedede's redesign. I'm gonna just say that's the problem.
It's a great look. I love the way King Dedede looks in that game.
You're wrong, but that's okay. You've been wrong about so many things. I'm numb to it.
Company of Heroes 3 also seems to be like kind of getting a little bit of a hurting, because that game probably would have done a little bit better had the reviews been a little bit stronger for it. It seemed kind of had a lukewarm reception, and then finished at 16. I know people are kind of in a wait and see mode with that game. But yeah, hey, Theater Rhythm making the top 20. That's a game that you really like, right?
Yes, I like Theater Rhythm a lot. So, again, it's a niche game. It's on PlayStation and Switch. That might be good enough. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe came out on February 24th, by the way.
Okay. That's so that's actually there's only 2 days of sales actually, because this is from January 29th through February 25th.
Yeah, so with all these other caveats, okay, maybe that's making it a little bit.
Right, not even like a full weekend of sales, right? So there you go. Okay. All right, moving on. E3 2023 is expected to be canceled this week. This comes from My Nintendo News. ReedPop is apparently in crisis mode as their previously announced revamp of the annual E3 event in Los Angeles looks likely to be canceled this week. The final nail in the coffin was the announcement this afternoon by Ubisoft. We talked about a lot of this on the show on the Bombcast actually yesterday. Basically to update it, Ubisoft pulled out. IGN then did a report saying that Tencent and Sega were going to pull out, and now it seems very unlikely this is going to happen. That is what we're hearing as well, right? Mike, you've heard that. I've heard that. I think
I've been hearing it.
Andy Robinson was on Twitter kind of saying sounds like that's what's happening, even though we hope it doesn't. I also hope it doesn't. But I mean, I think as soon as today, it could just be yes, that the E3 show that was supposed to happen this year is actually done.
Right. And again, I don't know, but I've heard some people say today, even again, who knows what's happening. Yeah, it seems like, how do you recover from that? There still are some partners there, right? Like, okay, maybe I guess you still have Konami, maybe Capcom is still in there. But man, it just seems rough. It just seems like a lot of people don't have confidence in it, and we haven't exactly heard ReedPop come out yet to defend their position with all this happening.
But they're probably trying to shore up what they can if they like a last minute effort, I suppose. But that also seems like it's that ship is sailed is kind of what it feels like there. So yeah, Dan pointed out this might be a weird situation where like the only company that is there is Konami, and everyone else isn't. It's like, oh my god, that's
Konami 3.
Yep, there it is. It's time. We've been waiting for it this entire time. Let's go. Okay. E3, if it doesn't happen, there will still be stuff happening throughout that week. The Ubisoft showcase was announced anyhow. Ubisoft Direct, what do they call it? Ubisoft Forward. They'll have a digital event you'll be able to watch. They say it's going to be in Los Angeles. We don't know what that means in terms of like, will they have a physical show floor where we can come play these games? No idea. But okay, I'm gonna at least kind of keep my eye on that week and start putting together the Game S calendar. Right now, that Game S calendar kind of looks like there is Keeley's thing on like that Thursday, and then he has like a in-person thing on Friday, I think, and then maybe Friday and Saturday, and then Xbox has their event on Sunday, and that's going to be Xbox, and then Bethesda, and then just Starfield stuff. So they'll be kind of throughout the day, it's going to be Xbox stuff, and then Monday is Ubisoft Forward. So that's the general timeline right now. That's probably enough to be like, I guess we'll get out there. That means if they're all in LA doing this, which sounds like what they're doing, then okay, we'll go out there and see what we can do and see who we can get into a room to talk to us over some microphones, make some content. But we'll see. How are you feeling about actually going? If it was just for like going there to write stuff for GamesBeat.
Yeah, I don't know. It's rough. It's feeling rough. I like wanted it to be an all hands on deck thing for us at GamesBeat because there's 4 of us. We haven't actually had an event yet where all 4 of us are there together. It seems like this would make sense for that. And now it's this thing where it's hard to justify it. Like so many companies are trying to slim down right now. It's a priority for me to make sure that includes things like travel budgets and not people's jobs, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of like, can I really justify? We need 4 people here for this, especially if the show might not be happening. I'm supposed to have a meeting later today where we would figure out are we gonna get like an Airbnb or what, blah blah blah. And it's just like I don't know what's going on. I don't know if we need to be there.
Yep.
I don't want us to spend all this money to be there for a week and not even have a show, or even if there is a show. Like, what exactly is that? Is this really the all hands on deck thing that it used to be? Doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't seem like that. I mean, and honestly, that confusion seems to be the thing. We again talked about this on the Bombcast, but that seems to be the thing that is causing the show to deteriorate. Is a lot of questions are still up in the air for these big publishers, and they like to have their plans solidified by now. Normally, a big company like Ubisoft would already know everything it's doing for something in June, and they didn't. So like, we have to just cancel. We don't have any other choice. And that sort of delay and things happening is definitely Repop's fault. Although the show, other than that, from what I've heard, is exactly what publishers were asking for. So it sounds like it was going to be the thing that like could be the future of E3. And now it seems like this is going to be the actual end of E3. Although we've said that many times before. So we'll actually find out, I guess, next year. All right, Forspoken story DLC arrives this May. This is from Marcus Stewart at Game Informer. Forspoken may not have set the world on fire, but those who enjoyed it have a new reason to revisit the world of Athea. Square Enix has announced a new story expansion called In Tanta We Trust, and it takes place decades before the campaign begins. The story sees Frey Holland follow a mysterious voice that leads her to her being sent back in time 25 years before she first stepped foot in Athea. She arrives at the Purge of Redig, blah, blah, blah. But,
oh my God.
I lost some steam there.
All right. So it's already an isekai, but not the time-traveling isekai.
Time travel isekai. Here we go. Yes,
the
exactly.
The Purge of Etha or whatever. Okay.
This is coming out, let's see here, May 26th. Although those who purchase the digital deluxe edition of the game can play it 3 days early on May 23rd. So, obviously they're doing this because they already had plans to do this, but boy, it just feels like this weird obligation for a game.
It sure does.
I don't want to be like, kick a game while it's down. Whatever. This is, go people. I know people who like Forspoken. Here you go. Here's some more Forspoken for you to play. I do wonder, like, how different can it really be from that main game? That the biggest issues seem to be, it's like, you're kind of doing the same stuff over and over again. Or one of the biggest complaints. And it's like, is this DLC going to be just more of that, or we'll have something new in there? Yeah,
I wonder if even the people who liked Forspoken were like clamoring for more Forspoken like this. I don't know. It's gonna be. You could be in a neat club though if you play this. I bet there's not gonna be that many people who 10 years from now are gonna be like, I played the Forspoken story DLC. Yeah. That's a good conversation starter.
Yeah, Dr. Randall in chat says more spoken. So there you go, everybody.
Funny.
Deal with that.
You did it.
There's a rumor that Skies of Arcadia is apparently up for the remaster treatment. This comes from My Nintendo News via Xbox Era, which mentioned on a recent video that the next classic IP from Sega to be getting the full remaster treatment will be the acclaimed action RPG Skies of Arcadia, which launched on the Sega Dreamcast.
RPG, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't think it was, but hey, that's what they wrote here.
That's what I'm here for those very pedantic.
Yeah, and then it also says which launched on the Sega Dreamcast and the Nintendo GameCube in 2000. Didn't come out like a year later on the GameCube?
Came out later on the GameCube. Yeah, I mean the GameCube wasn't out in 2000.
Right, exactly. US, so Sega themselves have not commented on the rumor or provided any indication that they are working on the project. However, it should be noted that the company has said a number of times that they are looking to revitalize some of their extensive IPs from the classic retro vaults. This is one that I think makes a lot of sense if they keep going down this path. It's one where, this game comes out, it has a good HD remaster. Maybe it's one that could turn into a new franchise all of a sudden as well, where it's like they could follow this up with a Skies of Arcadia 2. I think a lot of people would be pretty excited.
It would be. As somebody who spent way too much money on Skies of Arcadia Legends for GameCube, I'm both excited and distressed that I could have just maybe waited and got this for like $20 on my Switch. But yeah, this is a very beloved RPG. It has just this really kind of unique sky pirate setting, a lot of likable characters, still has a lot of style. It makes a ton of sense as one that they should remaster. There's like a lot of games that you like want them to remaster, and maybe it's more difficult because they were stuck on something like the Saturn.
Panzer Dragoon Saga, yeah.
Right, Panzer Dragoon Saga, or even like the original Panzer Dragoon. Instead, they just remade it, and that got like a mild reception, right?
Yeah, and they proved it over time, but that reception was mild at first, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Like you said, like there's no reason why Skies of Arcadia couldn't like catch on more. Now, you could justify making a sequel. It doesn't have to be the most big expensive thing in the world.
No,
but yeah, if you could throw like tales of money at it or something, right? That would be pretty cool.
Exactly. And I don't know. I've always found something really appealing about Skies of Arcadia. It's got a really infectious look where it's just
just kind of fun. Yeah, just all fun.
Pirates on airships in the sky, and it's blue skies and big white puffy clouds. Yeah, it looks fun. Yeah. I've played it a little bit, but I never fully got into it. Actually, of those like Sega RPGs from that era and before, it's like Panzer Dragoon Saga is actually the one I've like really kind of. I played for that. I didn't finish it, but I played it for like 7 or 8 hours and really was into it. So I'm like, oh man, they had some cool RPGs throughout that time.
And there's a little bit of that in this game because you have like these airship battles that almost kind of are a little bit like that Panzer Dragoon Saga battle system. The other like Dreamcast JRPG that was any good was Grandia 2, and that's already kind of been remastered / put in a collection that you can get on Switch. So yeah, that's great news.
Who had that recent it was a Tales of game that had that recent one that was like it was the 30 frames per second one because they lost
Tales of Symphonia.
Yeah,
another like GameCube classic, but they like don't have the source code or something, so they just have to reverse engineer, or
it was like
the PlayStation 2 version, which was worse. Like it's like with Resident Evil 4 when they made the PlayStation 2 version of that, because like they realized, oh crap, not many people have GameCubes.
Right,
they had to make
the
all
PS2
these
is less powerful than the GameCube, so they had to cut it down.
Like they had to like make a lot of in-game cinematics pre-rendered ones. So like if you had a fun costume on, it would just like switch back to the default during those. The textures are worse. And yeah, for Tales of Symphonia, it's like, wow, the game runs at 30 frames per second now. But yeah, then because of some weird circumstance, ever since then, like they put Tales of Symphonia on the Wii, 30 frames per second. Then like decade later, they put it on like the Switch and other stuff. It's still 30 frames per second, and I don't know how you can even like show your face doing that.
The GameCube version 60 frames per second, Switch version 30 frames per second. What happened here?
Yeah, come on. Like I understand. Like well, like what can we do? There's got to be something you can do.
Yeah, it feels like I don't know. Talk to the people who like do emulators. They're really good at this stuff. Maybe they can help you like make it work. But oh well. All right, let's have this conversation and then never talk about it again until the movie's out. Chris Pratt defends voices in the Super Mario Brothers movie. This comes from Nintendo Everything. No. Chris Pratt has defended the voices featured in the Super Mario Brothers movie, asking those that are criticizing performances to watch the movie first. Pratt, who voices Mario in the film, said the following in an interview with Extra TV. Come watch the movie. Go watch the movie, and then we can talk. I really think that once you've seen the movie, you know what? In all honesty, I think you probably need to watch it twice. I think always be selling, Chris.
There's the salesman
always
for
be
you.
Selling. I think that, in all honesty, though, is that this is a passionate fan base, and it makes sense. I understand. I'm part of it. This is the soundtrack to your youth. You don't want someone to come along and cynically kind of destroy it as a cash grab with a movie. I fully understand that. You do not want that to happen, and there are so many hearts and souls and minds dedicated to making sure that didn't happen. As part of this, or kind of like, tangentially to this, Seth Rogen was asked about his voice, and it's just like, he was just like, I don't do voices. I'm just gonna be Seth Rogen for Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
that's fun.
That's the one that, like, quote unquote bothered me more than Chris Pratt doing like a light Brooklyn accent. But also, whatever. This movie looks like a lot of fun. He's right. Yeah, just watch it if you really want to decide that you hate it, and it's fine then if you want to criticize it. I think it's going to all be fine. I think this movie's going to be great. I'm really excited. I think we should watch it 4 times before we can form an opinion.
That sounds
reasonable.
Right. That sounds right. Sandwich Jones says, if Michael Cera is Diddy, then I'll be mad, and I would actually be ecstatic if Michael Cera was Diddy Kong.
Like I get it that Chris Pratt seems like this. He's I don't say he's an easy target. That makes him sound like he's some kind of like, this poor man.
Yeah. We're punching down, but
But there was like, we're not. But there was like this point. There's like where this Chris Prattness thing was bubbling over, where he was like taking group pictures with the cast, and people were like, "Oh, look at this asshole. He's not like happy enough to be there." And it's like, what? Okay, I get it.
I'm definitely like, all right, I've cooled off on it. Let's watch the movie. Who cares? Let's just watch this children's movie, and I'll be fine. All right, Square Enix is releasing a set of Final Fantasy VII NFT trading cards. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. Square Enix has announced that it will be releasing a set of Final Fantasy VII trading cards that will include NFTs. Mike, I'm glad I have you here as the GamesBeat representative, because this is an NFT story, and then next up is a metaverse story. So the collection, which is called Final Fantasy VII Anniversary Art Museum Digital Card Plus, consists of 207 cards. Each pack, which costs $3.30, contains 6 physical trading cards as well as 1 digital exchange card. This can then be redeemed for an NFT version of a card. Square Enix says it's possible to get an NFT version of any of the 207 physical cards. NFTs are blah, blah, blah. We know what NFTs are at this point. Much like the as much as we honestly, no, maybe not. Let's read this, because much like the previously announced Digital Plus Edition action figure of Cloud Strife, which also will come with an NFT version of the figure, those who buy the cards and want to redeem their digital one will have to create an account with NFT platform Engine and download their Engine wallet app. Square Enix notes that, quote, there is no upper limit to the number of NFT cards that can be redeemed, but they can't yet be transferred or resold to someone else. So it's like, okay, well, they're not even so far delivering on one of the promises of the entire technology. Why are we doing this? What is any of this? Mike, explain NFTs.
Oh no, it's a very good sign, Jeff, when like you have to hide your NFTs and other real things actually that people can really buy. It's like, well, you get a bonus NFT, and if you want to redeem it, we understand. If you don't, you can. No, I'm not going to explain NFTs. They're stupid. I'll tell you what, Jeff, my site, we cover it a lot because we have to cover emerging tech, what people are investing in, all this stuff. There was a ton of investments happening there. I still never really understand it. And I think my problem was that it sounded so stupid. I always assumed there had to be more to it. And there just isn't.
There just isn't. Even the stuff that like they've talked about a lot is like, they're like, we don't need that thing of it. It's like, well, then what is the point of any of this? And I'm just looking at what Square Enix has done here. It doesn't seem like there's any point to what Square Enix is doing with NFTs. This just seems like you can log online and look at a picture of the thing you bought, and that's it. So far, that's it. That is pretty wild, and it feels like, okay, we have moved past this as an entire concept. They are like just doing it's not even a half step into this space. It's like a tiny little toe in the water, and they seem like deathly afraid of it. I have to ask, why even do it in the first place? But it just feels like someone's pet project, or they're trying to make it look good to investors. And honestly, it doesn't look good at all. It continues to look like Square Enix pretty incompetent when it comes to anything other than Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, just absolutely. Like, there's like that whole NFT game launching soon, and like, how's that possibly going to do anything for them? It just seems like a mess over there. They're so lucky they have Final Fantasy, and specifically Final Fantasy 14.
Yep. Meanwhile, over at Disney, it is laying off 7,000 staff, and they are shutting down the metaverse division. This comes from Marie DeLassandri at gamesindustry.biz. The Walt Disney Company has shut down its metaverse division as part of a round of layoffs. The news was first reported by Wall Street Journal, which had talked to people familiar with the situation, and was then confirmed by Variety. Disney's next generation storytelling and consumer experience unit employed around 50 staff, all of which were made redundant. The head of the division, Mike White, will remain at Disney in a different role that hasn't been revealed. Around 7,000 employees are expected to be laid off this year as part of the company's strategy to reduce costs and streamline its approach to business. Disney interim CEO Bob Iger said yesterday a second round of layoffs is expected next month and a final one in the summer. Mike, you got your finger on the pulse of both the metaverse and Disney.
Yeah.
The company shutting down their metaverse, also not very, very surprising, right?
No, not at all. There's been a lot of retreating from that. I think, there was this big case of FOMO when it was this big buzzword that was getting talked on so much mainstream media. Metaverse this, metaverse that. What's Facebook doing? Oh, they're just called Meta now, right? Everybody was like, well, we have to be ready for this. We can't miss out. We can't be late to this. Like maybe we were late to these other
Yes.
emerging internet platforms,
yeah.
what have you. So there were so many assumptions there. And again, there's a lot of money moving on it, and the money part of that was real for a bit. The problem is the metaverse as a product has not been real. At least, if you actually have any kind of flattering description for it, some people are just like, oh, well, Fortnite's a metaverse. Well, then, okay. I don't know if Disney's metaverse division was the one who's making sure Captain America was in Fortnite. I think we're going to see a lot of metaverse divisions unfolding here. But this is going so far beyond that at Disney. It seems like a real shame. I know it's already impacted some parks people that I like, which is surprising because parks is the one thing.
I mean, it's surprising because a lot of this is unnecessary. This is a profitable company. They made about 1% less profit in the last quarter that they reported, I believe, around there. And really, it doesn't even really have anything to do with that, really. It is Bob Iger is getting harassed by an activist investor that wanted to get on the board of the company and was using all of those little things Disney Plus isn't profitable yet. Using those things to try to work that position. And he didn't back off until Bob Iger said, fine, I'll make a bunch of cuts. I'll lay off a bunch of people. So this is just Bob Iger protecting his position by laying off a bunch of other people. And it's clear, it's transparent. We know that's what it is. And so is that shitty? Yeah, that sucks. None of these people had to be laid off. I mean, a metaverse division doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, fine. You shut that down.
Now you shuffle those people.
You shuffle those people. 7,000 people though. No, that's not necessary.
Yep. Especially for a company that again loves the Disney family thing and all that stuff. Oh yeah, that's family for you. It's pathetic.
You watch this Dan Olsen Line Goes Up, the guy who did Line Goes Up, the metaverse video. I still haven't watched that. I want to. I have it queued up. I've had it queued up since it launched. It was pretty good, right?
It's great. He talks specifically about Hershey. People are oh, well, we got to have this metaverse thing. And he talks about, how a lot of people will make this investment in the metaverse. And it's almost more about getting that headline saying well, we forgot this metaverse thing. No one will go to the stupid little pop-up stand you put in Decentraland. And that's almost kind of the point. They hope you don't go. They just want investors to see, look, we're investing in the metaverse. You heard about that on CNBC, maybe, right? Wow, we're a really looking forward company. We're on the cutting edge of technology. Oh, you don't like that anymore? AI, actually, that's what we're investing in now. It's AI. All right, great.
All right, let's move along here. Naughty Dog will continue to make games on PC. This comes from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. Naughty Dog has just seen the release of The Last of Us Part 1 on PC. While that game has been met with a lot of backlash, it seems that the developer still has big plans to reach out to the PC market. So that game is out on PC now, and it's in a real rough shape. People are complaining about performance. It's really bad on PC for the most part. Oops. It's really bad on Steam Deck, where apparently you turn it on and it builds the shaders for an hour. The first loading screen is an hour, and then you run the game and it runs at less than 30 frames per second. And so a lot of people are like, what's going on here? It's not just the Steam Deck though. It's across the board. You could see the reviews on Steam where it's getting basically hammered. So people are wondering, it's man, I think I got this question somewhere. I think we got it on our show last night, Mike, where we're like, hey, does Sony back off from PC gaming after an experience like this? And Naughty Dog is basically saying, no way, we're all in on PC. In a recent blog post, the developer said, rest assured, PlayStation and PC players, we're already looking forward to sharing more, whether you prefer a DualSense controller or a keyboard and mouse. Developing for both platforms empowers us to incorporate lessons learned from either into the overall design of our games. Sharing our stories and experiences on PS5 as well as PC is something that Naughty Dog has embraced and will continue to support moving forward. That makes it sound like day one we're getting that Factions game on PC, which I think is something we both assumed would happen for a very long time now, right?
Right. I mean, if you want to get a live service game being a big hit, that has to be day and date. You can't do the cute, 6 months, 1 year later thing coming to PC.
No, especially if you got this game is supposed to be very, very live servicey. They have not done one of those before. This is a company that has done things a certain way. They're gonna have to do things a different way for live service stuff to sort of smooth that over. You're gonna need as many players as possible, and they're not gonna put it out on Xbox, which I think 10 years from now that might change, but for now, no way. So PC and PlayStation 5 and maybe PlayStation 4, probably PlayStation 4. That makes sense for now. And it's okay. Yeah, I get why they feel they need to come out and say, hey, we're going to praise you. Get ready. Some of our games are going to be coming out day and date on PC and PlayStation 5, starting with Factions. I don't think whatever they're working on after Factions, like Last of Us Part 3, let's just say that's what's next. That's probably not day one on PC, right?
No, probably not. I mean, especially if giving them 6 months of a start here, this is what we get with Last of Us Part 1. Probably not.
Yeah, I see people like kind of talk about Factions, like when's it coming out? I don't know. People are hopeful for Factions, and I mean, I think it's going to be a fun game. I just, in terms of running as a live service business, I think that's going to be a bit of a headache, because it's been a headache for every developer that's ever tried up to this point, where it is, you kind of have to learn on the job. You can even have Bungie working at the same parent company, Sony, and you could get tips from them, but implementing those tips is not like some easy thing. Like Bungie had learned those lessons the hard way. You're probably going to have to learn those lessons the hard way as well. And then it's like, what works in live service games? Well, it's fun skins for the most part. At least I think. I guess I don't know. There's games like Hunter or whatever, Hunted, and Tarkov. Are those games like making a bunch of money from skins that are like, hardcore military skins? I guess if that's the case, then maybe this game can do that as well. But it just seems like a tough uphill battle if you're not going to have, the California raisins. I don't know why that's where my brain went.
I like it, Jeff. Yeah. That's good. If I don't have that now in Factions, I'm going to be upset.
That would roll. If that's the only fun skins that were in there, I would like that a lot.
Yeah. Kids are really big California raisin fans, I hear.
Yes. Yeah. They keep finding them and they were like, what are these? And apparently not meeps. They call them, that's a man. I'm like, that's
a man.
That's a raisin, honey. That's just a raisin that can play the saxophone. Deal with it. Nintendo's classic Ultra Hand toy lives on in Tears of the Kingdom. This comes from Michael McWhirter at Polygon. One of Link's new powers in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is an homage to one of Nintendo's oldest toys, the Ultra Hand. While the Ultra Hand ability in Tears of the Kingdom will let Link pick up and move faraway objects, Nintendo's yearly 60-year-old Ultra Hand toy, did the exact same thing. It just doesn't have the added function of building a functioning hovercraft the way Tears of the Kingdom's Ultra Hand did. I thought I recognized that name when they said it, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's Ultra Hand. My experience with this is mostly from WarioWare, where like they would have those old Nintendo products that you can get, and I think I have it right here. Let me see if I bring it up. Here we go. Yeah, there it is. But it's like, it's just a thing where you have to get the levers and like the all the little latches, and it just reaches out and grab balls from far away. It's pretty cool. I like when Nintendo pays homage to its legacy that came before Mario. That's cool, right?
Yeah, I think that's neat. Anything like that. Now it's the same thing. Like that name sounds kind of familiar. Sounds like a weird name for what this is. So yeah, it's an homage to this old toy. That's cool. Hey Jeff, did you hear that Resident Evil 4 has already sold over 3 million copies?
I thought I saw that, and I meant to include that. Yes, Resident Evil has already sold 3 million units. That's how long has it been out? Like, it's just like since Friday,
this is
right?
3 days.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Or 2 days after release. First 2 days. I think the original GameCube version, Jeff, sold a total of like 1.4 or 1.6 million copies its lifetime. I think even if you combine it with that PlayStation 2 port, it was like 3 million. So, of course, it's a much bigger market these days. Yep. But wow.
I mean, I think it shows exactly that. It shows how much bigger the market is, how many more people are playing video games. Also, just shows the power of Resident Evil, I think. And this game was always going to be the fastest selling Resident Evil game. But hey, they delivered on a game in a way that's like, okay, yeah, we thought it could be that, but it is that good. People are loving it that much, and people have showed up for it. And Capcom continues to just fire on all cylinders, right? They just really have figured out a strategy that works for them, that they can hit on with a really regular cadence. And now here they are, bigger than ever.
Yeah, like they are just hitting some major strides right now. I mean, is there a better developer slash publisher out there right
I mean,
now?
not third party.
No.
In the third party space, Capcom seems to be at the top of the heap right now. They're doing really impressive stuff. I kind of can't wait to see what they do with Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we believe in this franchise. We're going to work on it for a really long time, and we're going to try to make this another one of our pillars. It's like, what does that look like at this point? I'm very excited. Resident Evil 4 remake. Where do you think that gets? That gets to like 15 million copies sold, right?
I mean, it's hard to say. I'm curious to see how much 8 sold before I make a prediction like that. You would hope 10
Yeah, I had
million,
like a
maybe at least.
list of like
It's hard.
Capcom
Yeah.
sales recently, but game sales, but I
Let's
don't know if we'll be
see.
able to pull that up.
Resident Evil sales. So 15. I mean, 15 is a lot. I mean, that is even well above the Luigi's Mansion 3
Yes, it is the
line there,
Barry,
right?
the Luigi's Mansion 3 Barry, which is actually I checked the other day. It's right at 13 million. Basically, it's just under 13 million. So
Right.
Luigi's Mansion 3 bigger than ever. Resident Evil 5 is at 13 million. Now
Okay.
apparently that's this is may not be. Oh, this was as of March 31st, 2022. Monster Hunter World 18 million. 18 million
Yeah,
copies
maybe.
sold.
Like I'm looking at this. Like again, I know VG sales isn't super the most reliable thing, but it says Village was like 7.4 million. Resident Evil 2 remake was 11.2 million. So like, gosh, like you would think this would do the best. You're right. So maybe that can be 15. I still like Capcom used to say that Resident Evil 6 was the best selling one, and even here it's still 12.3 million. I just sounds like a lie to me. I didn't know anybody who played Resident Evil 6. Everyone said it was awful.
Everyone's
I
embarrassed.
Everyone's embarrassed. I was like, well, what do you mean? Maybe it means shipped. Maybe they shipped a lot of discs. I
Yeah.
can believe that.
Yeah, let's go.
But
Let's go
what?
check the Atari landfill and see if we can find them in there.
Right, exactly. So, this game should do very, very well. Gosh, I hope Capcom eventually, with all this extra money, tries to make a AAA Mega Man game
I
again.
think they do. I think
Like,
they
I
do.
like the retro throwbacks like a lot, sure, but I would really love for them to like make something that looks like a Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but with Mega Man and
Jan
that
says we
RE
should do a
engine.
Blight Club of Resident Evil 6 in pairs. Oh, Jan, you're
Be
asking
fun.
for it. You got to be careful, man. If you get
Be
sucked
fun.
in, you're permanently in there. That's the
There you
the
go.
curse. It's a curse.
Yeah,
Uh,
Shotgun, the campaign where you play as Albert Wesker's son. I think he has like
hell
psychic
yeah.
powers. I don't know. Sounds stupid.
Street Fighter 6 coming out pretty soon. That game's also probably going to be maybe the best selling Street Fighter. Well, since
Oh,
2.
you would think so. You would think so. Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's not like they're releasing a ton of games. Like, what else do they have this year? They have like a cute, like little collections, like Battle Network, and they have Exo Primal, right? And those are going to be much smaller deals. But yeah, it's like I just like this thing. Like we have these two major games that can come out in a year, and some of these smaller things, smaller games, smaller collections, they just seem to be hitting a really good cadence right now.
All right, let me get this back up. Bobby Kotick is back on his bullshit.
Oh no.
Basically, yeah, just he wrote an open letter to staff. This is obviously yet another attempt to outmaneuver Sony. He said, as you know, our proposed merger with Microsoft is under review by regulatory agencies around the world, some coverage of which you may have seen recently in the press. I will continue to provide updates regarding this deal. We remain confident that the transaction will be ultimately be approved, blah, blah, blah. Basically, he just goes on to say, hey, the most recent reports are that regulators are backing off of the console space argument, and so it's just down to the cloud stuff. And the cloud stuff Microsoft's working on, so it's very likely to go through, just like we've heard over and over now. But maybe an interesting tidbit here is he does like try to scold Sony in one of these sections. He says, you may have seen statements from Sony, including an argument that if this deal does go through, Microsoft could release deliberately buggy versions of our games on PlayStation. We all know our passionate players would be the first to hold Microsoft accountable for keeping its promises of content and quality parity, and all of us who work so hard to deliver the best games in our industry care too deeply about our players to ever launch subpar versions of our games. Sony has even admitted that they aren't concerned about a Call of Duty agreement. They would just like to prevent our merger from happening. This is obviously disappointing behavior from a partner for almost 30 years, but we will not allow Sony's behavior to affect our long-term relationship. PlayStation players know we will continue to deliver the best games possible on Sony platforms as we have since the launch of the PlayStation. Oh, Bobby Kotick's a good guy, Mike. Why did I so there he is. He's the
Oh my
good
god, so
guy.
it's like PlayStation, they're big jerks over there, but we'll be nice to them anyways here. Gosh, that's funny. Again, this Sony admitting that they aren't concerned about Call of Duty, like that's still just like the she said from that one CEO is like, well, in the meeting they said this, so
Yeah,
I'm
so
still
Sony is. I don't think they come out and denied it, but whatever. I mean,
sure.
even if
Like
they did
even if they
say it,
did though,
big surprise.
yeah,
Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah, that is pretty funny. I don't know what exactly this accomplishes
yeah.
necessarily. I don't know if this is like making their employees
I
feel
think it's
better.
always a tough one because Bobby Kotick is despised by the industry at large,
Not by
despised by
his employees though. They must love him. He's like their father.
that's right, despised by most of his employees. He is for good reason. Like he protected a lot of toxic people, people that have committed basically allegedly create some of the stuff is confirmed, but many other alleged actions against employees that are vile. He protected a Blizzard that had a toxic workplace for years and years and years that we only found out about in the last couple of years. So yeah, clearly this is a bad guy. So when you send him out here, or he sends himself out, I guess, and it's like, well, I'm gonna show the gamers that I'm for them. It just rings really
Yeah,
hollow.
cool.
You're
For the
not
gamers.
you're not going to get those JPEGs of you with the devil horns down from Google Images. Like, you should actually quit trying. It just looks weird. Okay. That does it for the news. I got a poll from Monday. Let's bring that up. Are you excited
Right.
about the Avatar game from Ubisoft? 31.2% said yes. 68.8% said no. I'm going to rerun this poll, I think, Mike, when we see gameplay and see if it shifts at all, see how people are feeling.
Right.
Let's say it's like, okay, yeah, it has those first-person shooter segments, but then you do have like the world exploration segments, and that's like a big part of the game. I think I would feel pretty good about that game. And that's what Andy Robinson on Twitter like said to you, right?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I saw the poll and I just said yes, just because I'm sort of all Avatar everything right now. I really liked Way of Water, but then I
You're
actually
wearing a blue
listened to
shirt.
right, exactly. Yeah, I'm blue WD die. Then I watched the episode of Game S Mornings and I saw that picture. I was like, ugh. I don't know. Even if it's not like always a first person shooter, just first person, even like if ever there was a game that should be just a third person, almost Breath of the Wild clone, like Ubisoft has done before
Yep.
with the Immortals Phoenix Rising, like this should be that game. So
But it
I'm
is
a little
massive, massive to
skeptical. It's
make shooters.
massive.
Yep.
They make us shooters, so that's good. And I guess that could all work out fine. Uh, but man, like you talk to me about the parts you really like about Avatar. It's not the human people stuff and their mechs, and I mean that stuff could be kind of cool. And like shooting real guns and all that stuff. I would even like if there's an Avatar game that was set like before the humans came, and it was just like Navi stuff, and it was just like the planet
Yeah, I
and
like
its
that. That's cool.
splendor. So, but hey, like I said, we saw a single screenshot. We gotta wait and see. Maybe at that Ubisoft Forward, huh?
Yeah, probably, and that'll be. Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what it's going to be. If these are the kinds of games the publishers are going to be putting a lot of money into, especially after Hogwarts Legacy, I want to see. Show us that these games can actually like live up to the promises of the IP and to live up to other games that have come out recently. We're in a post Elden Ring world. We'll be in a post Tears of the Kingdom world here pretty soon. I don't want and then on the other hand, a bunch of crappy licensed games. Like, let's actually put some effort into these and deliver on them for real. Because it seems like if you do, it can actually work out for a big publisher like this. But we'll have to wait and see. All right, Mike, I'm going to write up another poll. Actually, real quick, Twitter announced, we'll see if they do this. Elon Musk said to vote in polls, you're going to have Twitter Blue. Obviously, we're not going to keep doing it if that's the case. So we'll move to something else. There is poll system on YouTube, but we might do that. I might see about just doing it straight up on giantbomb.com. Maybe we'll try that instead. But I might just try a couple of things. Maybe we'll test some things. Strawpoll.com. Substack does polls. There's a lot of poll sites. Yes, we'll mess around. We'll see what works best for everybody. But for the most part, just like bear with me. We're going to keep using Twitter for the next couple episodes, and then we'll see. And then when he reverses the decision, we'll go back to Twitter, because of course he will. All right, Mike, while I write up this next poll, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you got going on, and all that stuff?
Yeah, go to gamesbeat.com. Check out all of our ratings going on over there. Jeff and I do last night $10 on Tuesday, Game Mr. Size on Thursday. We have a new Jeopardy episode we're doing on Friday. So you have to be a Patreon member to be able to watch that live. So there, the Patreon is at patreon.com/GameMess, I believe, if you want to watch that one live. So, yeah, that's it. That's it, Jeff. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me today, man. I appreciate it.
I know it's your pleasure and all that, but
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Do you expect Last of Us Factions to launch day and date? Do people know what day and date mean? PS5 and PC.
yeah, they do.
Okay. Game Mess Mornings. Let's give it a yes and a no for the options. Yes, no, and then we'll give it a day and we'll talk about it tomorrow on with Jan. Jan will be here on Giant Bomb to discuss the results of that poll. Let me well, there it went. Okay. Well, speaking of Giant Bomb, I am a little under the weather, but I plan to do Grubber Lang today. We won't have a Blight Club this week. Instead, we'll have a B Light Club. Well, a light club, basically. What's the plan, Mike?
We're gonna play. Oh God, you're gonna get yelled at for saying this stupid name wrong. We're gonna try to play Star Wars Masters of Terras Kasi.
There it is. That's close enough.
There we go. The fighting game for PlayStation 1. We're gonna Duck Station that crap. There's rollback netcode apparently on Duck Station now, right?
Yes, there is. You can get rollback netcode. So we're gonna play some Masters of Terras Kasi.
Jeff and I are going to go 1-on-1. I want to play the pig guard, the Gamorrean guard or whatever. He has a name, but that's gonna be my main, I think.
I'm excited. I'll play as Han Solo and get my butt killed. It's gonna be.
No, it'll probably be better because he just has a gun.
Yeah, shoot you with the gun.
Probably big advantage in these games.
Thok? Is Thok the name of the guy or Hor? H-O-R?
Well, there's like a sand person, which gosh, even just saying that sounds so racist.
Yeah, come on, man.
Jesus, that's what they're called.
The Tusken Raiders, I think, is what they're actually called. Mike, God, get us canceled.
God, give me a break. Look at the movies I watch. They're called Sand People. Darn it.
Oh man, it's real like Luke dropping the hard S. Oh man, you can't say that, Luke.
Mara Jade's just in those games. That's right, man. Remember Mara Jade?
I remember Mara Jade.
Did people like Mara Jade, or was she just kind of in a lot of things? And they made Luke Skywalker marry her at some point.
I think a lot of people really like Mara Jade. Mara Jade, yes. I mean, at least, or I think they convinced themselves they did. I don't know. I did not read too many books that had Mara Jade in it. I read a lot of Star Wars books, but mostly ones. I read the Han Solo trilogy and things like that, not the ones that were like, and then Luke did this.
I read the first one in like that really long series, and like the first one had a moon fall on Chewbacca and kill him.
Yes, I read that too.
Chewbacca like mercilessly blamed his son on it.
Yeah,
and I think that son also died later in the series. Blamed his son.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think I thought
he became like a drunk for like several books. Like
yeah, it sounded like that. I read the first one. Like, this is kind of just depressing. It's just like finding out all these characters that like have awful lives in the future. Then I read all these spoilers about like 2 out of the 3 Solo people like dying / turning evil, the Solo kids. I was like, this just sounds like a bummer.
I dropped off at some point. I read a lot of those books. And the moon actually landing on Chewbacca was actually
it's a thing.
It was it's real, and it was actually like intense and fun. But it's like then like Han Solo's like, I can't handle this. I'm gonna be mean to Leia and drink all the time. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's like, all right, give me a break. Yeah,
I like reading about like space ale and all that stuff. Whenever they're like, oh, here's a new beer that we are going to talk about in this book. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Oh, I wonder what that tastes like. But
the Yuzan Vong or something. It's like the
Yuzan Vong.
It's like the bad guys came from outside of their galaxy, and they like weren't impacted by the Force, which didn't seem to make sense. But sure.
Right, and they didn't use machines. They just used living organisms that they genetically engineered to be like spaceships and stuff. It was, wild stuff. All right, thanks again, Mike, for hanging out with me today, man. I appreciate it.
Yep. I'm going to say yep.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. We'll be back with another new episode tomorrow. Until then, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.